So this has nothing to do with war, but when I first moved to Cape Cod, before I moved here, I have an aunt who lives here, or an aunt, depending on your pronunciation. But she was trying to talk me into moving here because she loves living here, and she invited me to visit on a weekend. And she's like, "Come this weekend. I'll bring you up to P-Town. I'll show you around. Show you all the whole area." So I came. I'm like, "Yeah, that sounds cool." I came. She's like, "I'll pay for your train ticket. Whatever." I came. We go to P-Town, and I thought like this was normal P-Town. There was just guys, like big, hairy, like crazy, like hairy construction workers with like naked, like leather, like freaking nipple chains, like, dude, like the whole place was just, I'm like, what is going on? Is this like this every day? She's like, "Oh yeah, I forgot to tell you, it's bear weekend." And I was like, I think I was like 22 at the time. And all these guys were like growling at me. And she's like, "They think you're a cub." And I'm like, "What is that?" And so like all these guys were like growling and like hooting at me and like catcalling me. It was cool though. I mean, I thought it was cool, but it was like I totally got to feel what it was like to like be a woman walking past like a construction site, because they like. I thought I was going to be, like, dragged into an alley and freaking raped, dude. It was awesome. So I don't think she even realized. I think she forgot that it was Bear Weekend, but she might have realized and been playing a joke on me, but it was hilarious. So that was, it was a tough time in my life. But no, it was great.
Yes.
It was great. I was like, man, all these guys want me. This is awesome.
All right.
So if I ever go gay, you guys, I'm going to be a bear. How about you, Buck?
I'm gonna be an elephant.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Though I heard of those, man. Those are crazy. You don't want to go to P-Town on Elephant Week, dude.
No, those big old schlongs hanging on the ground.
Yeah, that's pretty cool stuff.
Indeed.
So that was all the Renaissance, huh?
I'd say this goes into the early neoclassical at this point.
Okay.
And it goes until, well, England rules the world until about World War I, when we take over here in the U.S. And so this naval empire way of waging war has still yet to be conquered. The U.S. is grasp on the world militarily today has to do with our complete conquering of the sea lanes of trade. And we allow ourselves and our allies to have whatever access we want. And if you try and go against us, we have a boat right there. And so it's really the still, as it was 100, 200, 300 years ago, back to the 1500s in the Spanish Armada, still the control of the seas that really gives you power today in warfare.
Pretty cool. So where were we? So we're in the Americas now.
I think I just did the rest of time.
Oh, did we skip? Well, we should probably talk about like the American Revolution a little bit, maybe, or what?
Well, there are all sorts of technological advances on land through these periods. I mean, starting in the medieval times with knights and shields and arms.
Oh no, I was just going back to
but then
where we were on the timeline. But,
but where in the Renaissance it shifts over to gunpowders and gun and cannon based warfare. So that is really the very, very beginning of modern warfare, trying to figure out how to fight with this new implement. And for the first, I'd say, 300 or so years, the way you fought with the guns is you all lined up and you shot at each other.
Yeah, I remember learning that in school. And then, like, that's kind of how we won the American Revolution, right? Was
guerrilla warfare.
Yeah, we kind of adapted what the Native Americans were doing a little bit.
Yes. You know, the smart thing to do when someone's pointing a gun at you is to not just stand there. And it took us a long time to figure that out.
Well, you know, there was chivalry or whatever involved.
Yeah. And from that point, you know, you get on to more and more advanced guns. And machine guns, which definitely get people out of the fucking way in the world. Well, back to the Civil War when you had...
They had Gatling guns, but those weren't... I mean, you couldn't really point them too easily.
No. I mean, the first true machine guns in the World Wars, and that got people to stop lining up. You know, you have, you know, situations like Gallipoli, where you have British commanders say, "All right, everyone, run at the enemy," and they're just sitting there with machine guns, like,
yeah.
Next wave, go at the enemy.
That's so crazy.
Yeah, and think of how many people are dying in just that.
Yeah.
So you know, you go from there to where having air power becomes very important and more in World War II. There was some air power in World War One, but its effectiveness was hit or miss. But in World War II, it became vital to the war cause, and
it was a lot of it was kind of, was it spying or was it?
Well, there was some of that, but at the beginning of the war between the UK and Germany, England. UK, to be consistent, just took out the German fleet because the UK's naval fleet was still unparalleled in Europe. Mm-hmm. And so Germany used its air power to overcome that initial loss.
Was that the Blitzkrieg? Or?
That is the Blitz, yes.
Nice.
And, you know, so they are going over, and Britain has this giant navy, and they haven't really developed a comparable air force. So the Nazis are just flying over and bombing the shit out.
Yeah, I learned that they would fly over and drop these special bombs in their bays that would make it so whenever their ships tried to come in or leave, they like developed this special bomb, and the British didn't even know it was happening. They couldn't figure out what this bomb was until they accidentally dropped one in this area where it was like, I don't know what it's called, where it's like a wetland where during a certain time of the day it's water, but then the water recedes and it's just like muddy. So they accidentally dropped a bomb there and the water receded, and the British military was able to get out there and recapture the bomb and dissect it and figure out, like, I think they were magnetic bombs or something. They were these special bombs where they would sit on the bottom of the water and then come up and like magnetize. I'm not sure exactly how it worked, but it was an awesome story. So that's part of how they, the Germans, you know, kind of combated the naval force there.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, it's pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, and this, you know, that worked for a while, but again, it was the naval elements that are more important in this. Because that's how you actually get to conquer a place, is by taking people in boats and getting them over there. You can't do it fast enough with just air power. And without the sea lanes, Germany was doomed from the start. So, with that, we developed, in order to end the war more quickly, the atom bomb. In a race against Germany that we sort of cut Germany's legs out at the time. And that changed the entire face of war, because no longer could big, advanced countries go to war against each other. Now it had to be a big, advanced country going to war against a tiny, little, insignificant country that didn't have atom bombs. And so, you know, you have the beginning of these proxy wars, where like Vietnam and Korea, and things like that, where you have powers battling against each other unofficially, so no one will get nuked. And
I never realized that that's what it was all about,
yeah.
Huh.
And, so you have this communist containment policy that, makes us try and fight anyone who aligns with the Soviets at any point, like in the Greek Civil War. Hinted.
Yeah.
And which the CIA sent people in. Anyways, so you go from there to having all these wars throughout the 50s, 60s, 70s. In the 80s, we invade friggin' Grenada when it becomes communist.
I didn't realize that a lot of those wars were because of communism.
Well, sure.
I just don't know a lot about it.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So that kind of ties into the whole, like, what is it? The In God We Trust on the money and everything.
Yes.
And that whole, yeah.
Especially because that came in 1955.
Yeah.
Which is right after the Korean War. And the Korean War was us and the, South Koreans of capitalism versus the North Koreans of communism.
Really? I didn't even realize that.
And so
That's crazy.
It was the first major anti-communist war. And so it's no wonder that after that, the big communist purge comes in, and we try and disassociate ourselves with anything, kind of.
What was the problem with communism? Was it just because it was like Russia or whatever?
Yes, it's because the Soviets were under Stalin, and they were trying to take over the world too, and so we kind of had to stop them from doing that so we could rule the world. So,
because I never understand why everybody just used communism as like this, like straw man. Basically, it's like, is it really about communism or is it about something else? It's like, communism is what I mean. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and certainly there were communist countries that did some pretty terrible ass things.
But is it because of communism or is it because of something else?
No, it was because of their leaders.
Yeah.
I mean, but they were often conflated as such because the biggest communist country was the Soviets, and the Soviets were led for 30-some years by Stalin. And that really didn't make us big fans of communism. We were fought with him kind of tentatively in the Second World War, but after that it was just us versus the Russians until 91, and then there went the Soviet Union, and now the world of war is securing oil, trying to maintain a good balance of powers throughout the world so that no one else becomes too strong.
Is it really about oil? I mean, because don't we have like tons of oil reserves in America right now? It's like,
but these countries often they act as a cartel in OPEC, and as they did during the mid-70s oil crisis, they can jack up the price of oil whenever they want. Right now, they have artificially flooded the market and lowered the price of oil to try to stop our burgeoning new oil gathering industries. And so having control over these parts of the world has major economic power and influence with it. And so, having Iraq in our back pocket, along with many of the Gulf countries, like Saudi Arabia being our ally, it's been very important to having a steady stream of power for our country, which is why we do go to war for oil.
So what was the other one? There was oil and...
Well, and then there's a strategic balance of powers. You don't want regional powers to develop to the point where they can start to become international players. So you even out the powers in different countries by allying different ways. For instance, everyone in the Middle East is kind of equal. The countries. There isn't really, one big one that everyone kind of looks to. That's becoming Turkey, but it's not Turkey yet. Because Iran still wants that position, Egypt still wants that position. But it's going to be Turkey. And, you could say the same for Africa, and you can say the same for Europe. You can say the same for Asia and South America. And so it's only us who rules North America that we have allowed it to have a regional sphere of influence so grand. So, yeah, that is another major point in today's warfare, is to try and maintain those types of connections. And certainly there's been connections to warfare all the way up to very, very recently that had to do with that sort of strategic balance of power. We can go into Syria, where Russia was supporting Bashar al-Assad in the Syrian civil war, because that was Russia's ally in the area. And we don't want Russia having more allies outside of its, immediate area. And so we got in there and said, we want to take out Assad, and that ended up in a bit of a clusterfuck. Syria is still completely messed up and is not getting the coverage it used to. And so, yeah, it's this sort of argument that is going to have, at least in the short term, high implications going forward.
So is there any other reason in modern day to wage warfare?
I'm sure there's lots of reasons that, people will put out. Certainly...
Like the whole 9/11 thing seemed like a lot of people want to call it a crusade, or like a holy... based on holy things.
Yes,
like
our
retaliation.
People are morons. It was an okay idea to go into Afghanistan and, take out that terrible, terrible government there. It doesn't really help that much, but, it's nice.
So if it wasn't for religion, what do you think? I mean, it was just a retaliation?
Yeah, well, trying to disrupt Muslim extremist activities would be really the reason.
So what happened with the weapons of mass destruction thing? What's your opinion on that?
It's a complete lie that they used. They had legitimate reasons, but not ones the public considers legitimate reasons. Like, we have to create the balance of powers. We have to, maintain our oil supply, shit like that.
One funny, I don't know if it's a conspiracy, but I heard that, like, people thought that at the time Saddam Hussein was, like, hoarding PlayStation 2 video game systems because apparently they're so powerful they could, like, guide missiles or something. It was crazy.
Awesome. And so I'm sure all of you out there are very familiar with how technological wars become today. Certainly, the future of war is perhaps cyber wars, and China has declared cyber war on us unofficially.
What? Really?
Unofficially, because...
Well, on that note, do you think there's any up-and-coming wars that could take place, or...
It's conceivable. You look at the arc of history, and the events of 20 years in the future of any particular time look really bizarre when they're couched as such. Like, let's take, for instance, 1940. In 1940, you have a strong Germany on the rise that is against everyone in the West, and you have, a strong Japan that's against everyone in the West, and you have, communism kind of reeling in Russia, and then in 1960, Germany's on our side, we rule Europe. Japan's on our side, we rule East Asia. Russia rules all the Soviets, and communism rule everything in between. And so, it's not a good idea to make exact predictions and stuff like that, because the world fucking changes ridiculously.
Yeah.
Like, think about...
Well, I always think about how everybody's like, oh, China's going to take us over someday, or Russia is going to take us over.
No.
Everybody's always saying dumb shit like that.
Yeah, well, China will take a long time if they can do it, because China doesn't have anywhere near the military technology and sea power.
But everybody says because of their population.
What are they going to do? Just fling everyone over here?
Alright, let's not make them upset, alright?
Fuck you, China. Flinging people over here in giant trebuchets. You might as well just say India's going to take over the world because they're going to have more people than China's got.
Well, I mean, I guess they could cyber attack us, but, I mean, what's that even really going to do?
Well, we've done a very good job of deflecting their cyber attacks, but they are, we can see them. They're, like, fucking trying to break into Los Alamos computers all fucking day.
I didn't even know that was going on.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, so, fuck you.
So, I mean, I wonder if it's just like some kind of kids playing around, or has it been proven that it's actually the government?
No, it is the government of China.
That is so crazy, and we just look the other way? Well,
because people don't consider cyber war to be a war, and, China has nukes, so it's not like we can go shoot their asses.
Yeah.
I mean...
It's weird.
I mean, when North Korea cyber attacked us, we didn't fucking start war with them.
No, I know we're not going to start war, but I mean, wouldn't there be some type of treaty or something put in place where, saying that's not cool, I don't know.
No, not really. I mean, the internet has made international law so nebulous, and warfare, the law of war... just doesn't apply to it in the same way. Not that it necessarily should, because, there's no people being shot in cyber wars. But...
Well, I mean, it does have... I mean, it could affect our infrastructure and actually cause harm.
Yes, and that's the idea.
Yeah.
So that will be a major issue going forward. Trying to figure out who rules... the internet. Right now, it's us.
It's pretty cool to think about.
Yes.
I mean, I heard a little bit about that Korean thing when that movie came out, and they were talking about how, like, Korea's connection to the global internet or whatever was, like, it was such a bottleneck that, like, there's no way they could ever stage any type of real cyber war because of they don't even have the infrastructure of the... I don't know what it is, like the tubes or whatever.
The tubes.
Inner tubes. You know what I'm saying? But I wonder if there will ever be some type of treaty or something like limiting the inner tubes from one country to another, You know what I'm saying? Like maybe they just make a bottleneck where only a certain amount of information can even pass through.
It's not gonna happen.
Yeah, that's just weird.
No,
I wonder how that stuff is even...
Because international trade demands the constant upgrading of those systems.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So, on that completely unrelated note...
I mean, it's
not completely
World War III we're talking about here, dude.
Yeah, so, yeah. Wars of the future.
Russia and China are going to come and freaking
Sure.
Take us over, Red Dawn style, dude.
Yeah.
No, that wasn't China. Whatever. I don't even know what I'm talking about.
Fuckity fuck. All right. So that was our show on war. We hope that
we might split this in two.
We might split this in two.
It's almost 50 minutes right now. So.
We are definitely splitting this in two.
That was our shows.
That was our shows. The first show will not have an ending, unfortunately, it seems. Nor a skit, unless we get really creative.
We'll figure something out. Yeah.
So that, along with our very poor lighting today, is...
Yeah, I just want to say, guys, we're kind of having some technical difficulties. We live in New England, and it's really cloudy. We might invest in some lighting, but we know that what's going on here is mainly listening to us. But we like to, have a little bit of visual effect here. So we're trying to work around these things. The dogs are driving me up a wall. The dogs of war. I don't know if you can hear them here, but we're trying to figure out ways to work around this stuff, so bear with us, guys.
Yes, bear with us, especially you guys up in Provincetown. You guys know how to bear.
I got a story to tell you about that.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I don't know. Maybe I'll tell you the story, and we could put that as the skit for the second part. You want to do that? Okay.
You're seeing this idea beginning.
So, all right. So, anyways, we're trying to end the show.
Good night.
See you guys.